So let's talk about chronic diarrhea, but we're going to look at it from a totally different angle. What if the solution didn't involve swallowing a single pill? Today, we're getting into a gentle, external approach that's all about supporting a digestive system that's just, well, already had enough.
All right, let's just be real for a second. When chronic diarrhea takes over, it starts running your life, right? You're planning your day around bathrooms, you're second-guessing every meal, you know exactly where every restroom is before you even leave the house, and you've probably tried it all, the fiber, the probiotics, the special diets, but that pattern, it just keeps coming back. It literally reshapes your whole life.
So the big question is, why does it feel like this unending cycle? Well, the material we're digging into today makes a really sharp distinction. It draws a line in the sand between just managing a symptom and actually restoring the system.
And this really gets to the heart of it. On one side, you've got your typical go-tos for symptom control, things like loperamide, maybe even antibiotics. And they can work, for a bit. But here's the argument from the source. Those solutions, they often don't even touch the underlying problem. They're like putting a Band-Aid on the flare-up, but they never ask why the digestive system is struggling in the first place. The symptom gets quieted down, but the root cause, still there.
Okay, so this is where things get really interesting. We're going to pivot to a completely different way of looking at this whole thing. We're shifting gears from a typical Western perspective to a framework that comes from traditional Chinese medicine.
All right, the key phrase you need to know here is Spleen Qi deficiency. And let me be super clear about this, because it's the most important part. When we say spleen here, we are not talking about the anatomical organ. Not at all. Think of it more like a function, like the body's digestive fire or engine. It's the power that breaks down food, pulls out the nutrients, and handles fluids. So you can imagine when that function is weak, the whole digestive assembly line just starts to fall apart.
So how would you even know if this pattern applies? Well, check out these signs. We're talking about things like loose stools that get way worse with cold food or when you're stressed, that heavy, bloated feeling, or just being wiped out right after you eat. And a big clue, symptoms actually feel a little better with warmth. The source suggests that things like eating too many cold, raw foods, or even constant worry and exhaustion are what can slowly drain this digestive energy over time.
So here's the big mindset shift. The reframe is this. The gut isn't just irritated. It's not just inflamed. It's underpowered. It's like a car engine that's not getting enough gas. It just doesn't have the functional energy, that qi we mentioned, to do its job properly.
Okay, so if the problem is an underpowered system, how do you fix it? Let's get into the solution that's presented in the source material, because it builds directly on this idea. The whole approach is designed to support that digestive function without adding any more work for it to do.
And get this, the method is totally external. We're talking about a small pouch with herbs inside that you just apply right over your navel. Think about it. For a gut that's already struggling and overwhelmed, the advantage here is huge. No pills, no powders, no weird-tasting liquids. You don't have to swallow or digest a single extra thing.
And the protocol itself, super simple. It's just one 9-day cycle. Here's how it works. You put on pouch number 1 and wear it continuously for 72 hours. That's 3 days. Then you just swap it out for pouch number 2 for the next 3 days. And finally, you finish up with pouch number 3 to complete the full 9 days. That's it.
Now here's a really fascinating detail that the source points out. It explicitly says that the pouch weighs the exact same after you use it for 3 days. So what does that mean? It means this isn't like a nicotine patch, where something is physically absorbed through your skin. No, the idea here is that it works on a more traditional, energetic level. It's about stimulating a key acupoint right there on the navel to kind of nudge the body's own function back into gear. All right, I know what you're thinking. What about the evidence? The proof, right? It's a fair question, and it's actually important to see how the source material handles this, because they're pretty careful and transparent about it.
So the evidence they present starts with this really broad foundation of traditional use. The source cites this huge literature review. We're talking about 416 different clinical articles from all over China, and all of them were looking specifically at this kind of herbal navel therapy for chronic diarrhea that's tied to that spleen deficiency pattern we've been talking about.
But, and this is a big but, the source is also really upfront about this. They state very clearly that for this specific product, there isn't a dedicated study on chronic diarrhea just yet. They do point to a separate case series where, interestingly, normalized bowel function was seen as a side benefit, but they're very careful to make it clear that that's a different context. And this is absolutely crucial. The pouch isn't meant to be used all by itself. It's actually part of a whole supportive routine that's designed to stop putting so much strain on the system. In the first few days, the focus is all on warm, easy-to-digest foods. Then, you move into a strengthening phase with regular meals and eating more slowly. And after that, it's all about locking in those gains. It's a whole package, really, designed to rebuild that digestive fire.
And that brings us right back to the main idea, the central message of this whole thing. It's about supporting the underlying function, not just slapping a Band-Aid on the symptom. It's really presented as a totally different path for a system that's already overworked and strained. So we'll leave you with this final thought, a question that kind of sums up this whole approach. In a world where we're always focused on supplements, diets, and protocols that are all about putting more things into our bodies, what if the best way to support your gut was to add nothing to it at all?